Welcome to the Be About It podcast. My name is Ben Mercedes, and I'll be your host who will cover financial and crypto markets, real estate, and entrepreneurship. My goal is to inspire others to be about it and take action. Today's guest is Anthony Grajales. We discuss his journey from 1 to 30 doors in real estate, how to leverage debt to your benefit, house hacking, and more. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, Anthony, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
I'm happy to be here. My name is Anthony Grajales. My company is Grajales Properties. We buy, rehab, and rent multifamily properties.
Why don't you tell us where we are?
We are in the beautiful city of Worcester in one of my buildings here that we are in a full renovation building. It's 6 units and 2 commercial fronts. We're in one of the commercial fronts that used to be a barber shop in the 70s and 80s and 90s.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So it's been vacant since the 90s?
It's been vacant, I believe. No, it hasn't been vacant since the 90s. I think probably like maybe 5 years or so. This building's leaking water everywhere, plumbing. It's not too bad anymore. That one up there, yeah, that was a good leak. That was the first. So I bought the property 2 years ago, and that leak up there happened like on my watch, like maybe 2 days in. Like they called me, like, hey, like our tub's clogged, and I went in here and like we had to redo everything, and like that actually wasn't a leak. That's like when we opened it up and it just spilled everywhere.
The tub,
so the water like clogged in the tub and stuff. It was like a ton of like backed up, like tons of crap inside of it, but there was no like filter on the drain upstairs, so like
to stop all that stuff from going down.
So everything was going down, so we fixed that up. So yeah, man.
Gotcha. That's pretty wild. Tell us about what was your first real estate deal? When was it? What was it like?
My first real estate deal was 2011. April 2011, we closed on the property. I was 21 at the time.
Crazy.
I had just turned 21 at the time, living at home, working a full-time job, just saving everything I had to buy a real estate property, a multifamily property, a 3-decker here in Worcester. And that property is still owned today. Bought it for sale price. I think sale price on it was like maybe $115 or like $120 at the time.
Crazy. And
the whole 3rd floor needed to be gutted, and it was already gutted, but we had to be finished renovation. The basement was really bad. It was in pretty bad shape. So we got a construction loan on it. So the list price was like $120. We ended up buying it for like $95,000.
Awesome.
So I went in pretty low, and my real estate agent was like, "Nah, man, you're not gonna get it." I was like, "Just put the paperwork in, man." This is like the first time, and like when she told me like, "Hey, you're not gonna get it," my dad was like, "Nah, just stick to your guns. Like, it's a really bad property. Just stick to the guns, see what happens."
Yeah.
And then they came back to like, "Oh, well, you do 100." So they dropped to $15,000 off the bat. And then right there, I'm like, "Oh, we're definitely getting this." So we got it for like $95,000.
Sweet. Can you explain what a construction loan is?
Yeah, construction loan. So at the construction loan at the time, I think it's called like a rehab loan now. Like, construction rehab loan.
Yeah.
I think it's a 403k loan, I think it's called now.
Yeah.
But back in the day, you were able to do your own renovations as like a homeowner.
Yeah.
So as a homeowner, you go in there, you fix the place up. You know, you can hire people, general contractor, whatever, and just take it on yourself. Now it's like it's a different thing. Now before you go in, you got to have the general contractor already in place. You got to have the bids out. You got to make sure like all that money's. They'll basically loan you the money and attach the loan on to your existing loan, and then they'll space that for 30 years.
Gotcha.
How they do it now. And I think I might have had that option back then in 2011, but they gave me the option where I'm like, you're going to pay a very low interest payment every month for 6 months. They gave me a 6 month, and they would extend it if I needed an extension.
So you were paying just the interest and not the principal?
I was just paying interest.
Gotcha.
I was just paying interest at the time. I was working full time, and I was still giving actually a little bit more onto that just because I wanted to continue to lower the principal. I was very big off the bat of like paying these houses off. Now I do the total opposite. You know what I mean? I do the total opposite.
Leverage
now.
debt.
Yeah, I pushed like if they let me borrow, if the payment's $1,000 and I can get away with paying $999.99, I'll do that instead. So I leveraged that.
Why do you do that?
So you have money to use going forward. Nice. So I made a huge real estate
Doesn't
mistake.
Dave Ramsey say to do something else?
Dave Ramsey's my guy. Let me tell you, if you work 9 to 5, If you work 9 to 5,
Dave Ramsey's your guy.
you love your job, you love your boss, you love your life, all that good stuff. Do what Dave Ramsey does. Awesome. But if you want to grow and continue to build and maybe work for yourself one day and all that stuff, you may want to do something else. Not to talk shade on Dave Ramsey.
No,
he's a guru. He's a man.
It's two different investment philosophies. You know what I mean? Exactly what you said. If you have a cushy job with a cushy 401k and cushy cash flow at the end of the month, then you can get out of debt and you can save 6 months expenses and then you can invest after that and everything works. But if you're an entrepreneur, you need more cash flow to get more assets.
100%.
And so
100%.
People always say Dave Ramsey, and I'm like, yeah, he's good to get out of debt. For me, that's where the bucket stops.
I'm trying to create more debt for me to grow.
Same boat here.
Banks to keep lending me money, I'll keep taking it. And,
same boat here, man.
People are nervous of paying interest and this and that. And like, man, you pay so much. I pay thousands of dollars in interest monthly, but the cash flow is there where I can pay them. I pay everybody else and I pay myself. And
if you're paying 10% interest, but your asset creates 40% gains, then your arbitrage is 30%.
Who cares?
Who cares if you're paying interest?
They're getting rich. They love I call the bank now. They love me, Mr. Grajales. How you doing? Great. They give me stuff because I'm making them so much money. They give me, and then they give me like a $2 coaster with like my name on it and like a couple pens. I'm like, fantastic.
Grajales swag.
Yeah, I've shout out to Savers Bank. They saved my butt.
I like that. We should probably make like a testimonial and just send it to them, right?
Oh yeah, no, Savers Bank. I went to 8 different banks to get a loan one time.
Damn.
On my own property.
Wow.
I was getting married in 2014, getting married into that, and we were gonna buy the property. There weren't any comparables to properties. Comps. Comps. They didn't have any comps because it was a single family and a 2-family with 11 garages. So you couldn't find that anywhere in the city of Worcester to comp it off of.
Crazy.
And they only give you like a 2-mile radius, but the bank extended to like 4, 8. And then at the end of the day, the bank said you could look all Worcester County, I think, or like Worcester, which is like unheard of.
Yeah.
And they still couldn't find anything. I was refining a 3-family at the time, take money out, put all that money down on the new property, and then I was gonna finance like I think it was like $100,000, 120 grand or something like that for a 30-year mortgage. It was gonna be fantastic. The mortgage was gonna be super low. It's gonna be great. At the end of the day, like we'll do the 3-decker, but we're not doing the new house.
Yeah,
we'll still make that happen. Like if you want to come up with the rest of the cash, and I was like, where am I gonna get $100,000 in like 2 weeks? I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
How old were you at this time?
I was 25.
25.
I was 26.
And this was going to be your second property?
No, this one was going to be like my 4th.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. 4th and 5th property.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, I'm sorry. 5th and 6th property. This was going to be.
Cool.
So I had like, I was already in the game and stuff like that. And they still said no because of the comps. It was all about the comps. And
so how'd you get around it?
And this was, what bank was this? I forget what bank it was. Oh, Wells Fargo.
Gotcha.
This was Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Shout out to Wells Fargo. I do have a mortgage with them.
Okay.
They've helped me a lot too, though. Like,
cool.
I financed a 3-decker with them.
Weren't they on Dirty Money on Netflix?
I don't know. I didn't watch it, but shout out to Wells Fargo. They did one mortgage for me, but they didn't want to do another one.
Yeah.
So I was upset with them at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So I had to come up with like 100 and something grand in like 2 weeks because I wanted this property. It was a single family, 2-family next door, 11 garages. I'm like, we're gonna make this happen.
Yeah.
We bought it for $230.
Sweet.
Now it just got appraised for like $430. Like 2014.
And how many years?
I mean, 7. Yeah,
200 grand,
6 years. No, like 6 years, something
6
like that.
years,
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So
what do you do with those garages? Do the tenants use those, or
I have I rent. There's like one separate one. Yeah, I rent to a gentleman who lives on the first floor. Pulls his car in and out. It's great. I put an automatic car opener for him. It's awesome.
Sweet.
So he pays like an additional $100 for his rent for that bay.
Nice.
And then I rent 3 out to another gentleman for storage, stuff like that. So all of the rest of them for storage.
Sweet.
Back there. Yeah. So it's all storage. And then I use 3 of them myself.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's
Is
nice.
that what do you house there? Just materials?
Yeah, I just have like my wife's car gets in and out type of deal. I have
nice.
a couple materials there, and then like I have an old pickup truck, a nice pickup truck that I got in high school that's still in there.
Yeah. Do you park the Bentley in there, or?
No Bentley yet, man. No. I'm not, honestly, man, I'm not that, like, I don't see myself ever buying something like that, or like, I definitely want
better to rent.
I definitely want to lease a brand new pickup truck, you know, diesel, heavy, like something crazy. Like, why do you have that truck?
New Tesla?
Yeah, nah. Teslas are nice. They're nice. They're nice.
Have you seen the Tesla truck?
Is that the one that they threw like the brick through the window or tried to throw?
They're like, yo, it's bulletproof. It's not gonna break, and then they do it.
Like if it was like paper mache, they rip right through it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not my style.
Yeah.
I'm more of that type of style. I'm more of a DeLorean guy.
Gotcha.
I would rather buy the DeLorean than buy the Tesla truck. But
bet you they'll make a new one.
Yeah.
It'll be like the electric DeLorean or something.
Yeah, but shout out to Elon Musk because
killing it.
One of my favorite things that he's ever said is where you can work 100-hour work weeks for, I think it's 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. And at the end of those 3 or 4 months, if you haven't done anything, like if you've learned how to fail or like your business, like whatever you did in that, you know, those 100-hour work weeks, you basically work 1 full year of a normal person working 40 hours a week.
Absolutely.
So you haven't done anything in 3 or 4 months, just start over again.
Yeah.
And then you do another 3 or 4 months and like you're
still light years ahead.
And you're still good. Yeah, exactly. You're still light years ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's tough working 100-hour work weeks, you know, when you have a family, when you're a husband, all that stuff.
Yeah.
When I was single, I was working.
Yeah, you could do it.
I was working those 100-hour work weeks to create, you know.
Sweat equity.
Yeah, sweat equity to create, you know, thank God what I have today.
Can you explain what sweat equity is?
Yeah. Shout out to who talks about sweat equity the best is Mark Cuban. You know what I mean? Like learn everything you got to learn about your thing. Just hands-on, grind, be there, show up day in, day out. You know what I mean? Like in real estate, you know, it's easy. You're the one fixing everything. You know, I'm right now, I'm the plumber, I'm the electrician, I'm the painter, I'm the carpenter, I'm the cleaning staff. Yeah, I'm everything. So, and I've learned so much over the years, but I'm not afraid to be like, I don't know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And people save me all the time. You know what I mean? I have great people who I connect with, talk with. You know, my dad saves me. You know, my great uncle saves me all the time. My cousin Junior, shout out to Junior. He saved me countless of times. You know what I mean? And we just learn. You know what I mean? You learn and keep growing. You know what I mean?
Nice. So you're hands-on when you take on a property. You're doing pretty much everything yourself. You're the GC with help. Yeah.
I'm the GC with help. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I'm not afraid. I usually buy property that nobody else wants to buy. Yeah. Like the buildings we're sitting in today. Everybody wanted this brick building because it was a nice brick building, good road type of deal. It was a good investment for some people. You know what I mean? It was a total rehab, but it was a nice brick building. But nobody wanted the other building that was attached to it. They were selling the 2 buildings separately, but I came in and was aggressive to buy both buildings, and it just needed a ton of work. And like, and all the 3-deckers I purchased because like they're just like really bad, you know what I mean? So like it's not a beautiful house. People come in like first time home buyers, like they're gonna buy, you know, a 3-decker, live on the first floor, rent out the other 2, and they want a really nice 3-decker. They're not really handsy, you know. So they come in, they can throw in some big numbers, but I'm usually not bidding for those properties. Right. Yeah.
Tell me about this deal. The commercial units were your latest deal?
This one here. Nice. This one, like I said, we closed like 2 years ago, March of 2019. Yeah, 19.
When the pandemic hit, how nervous were you with this?
I wasn't too nervous, man. Gotcha. Thank God with the pandemic, I know everybody's have had, you know, a lot of issues, but thank God, you know, we've had a couple people back up because people have had issues like unemployment, like totally stopped unemployment for them. So they were backed up like a month or 2, but then they got on track and they paid the months they owed. Nice. Which is like they're really good residents to buildings, like awesome people. We have one guy struggling right now trying to get back kind of on his feet. So he's kind of a couple months behind, but we're working with him to try to catch him up. Sweet. But everybody's been real cool. People have called me originally when that all hit and be like, hey, like you don't have to pay your rent anymore. Rent? Yeah, free rent. No, you know. And like when I heard that type of stuff, I was like, I was definitely nervous for sure. But I had one guy call me and say like, hey, like how does that work? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I believe if you can't pay rent, like it's just like backed up. It's not like you don't pay for a year or 2 and then you basically just start the next year like clean and free. You gotta owe like the whole other year. So he on the phone, he's like, nah, I'm just gonna pay you.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I would pay me. You know what I mean? Like I would pay. Well, like I would pay just because like I don't want to have to like have like 6 months backed up and then you gotta pay that backed up rent.
Yeah.
So he started doing that. But with this deal. We bought it 2 years ago.
It was 2 properties.
Two properties, yeah. So I bought 2 properties. It's like on one loan.
Gotcha.
It's on one loan.
Same seller.
Same seller. Yeah, same seller. They were selling them individually, but I was ended up to get them on one loan.
Sweet.
Which was awesome.
How did you find out that they were both units were like? Did you inquire about this one and then?
No, I reached out to a commercial real estate agent, and he started showing me a couple stuff. Like I had a number that I got because like I wanted to buy a property at 1.6 million.
Yeah.
Because that's the money that I had after taking all the other property that I owned, and instead of doing like a home equity line,
or HELOC.
A HELOC on like I had one on 1 3-decker. So I'm like, do I want to like go on the trouble of like getting home equity lines for every single property?
Yeah.
I'm like, so I kind of did a little homework, and they were able to do a commercial line of credit.
Sweet.
So I'm like, cool, this is what I need.
Yeah.
So I worked with Savers Bank on that.
So you didn't have to get individual HELOCs on 7 properties. They were able to.
I probably could have, but I wanted to do it one big one.
Yeah, one shot. So they were able to just say, we're going to create a commercial loan and we're going to leverage 7 of your properties.
Yep.
Got it.
So they took everything, and they took the number of all the equity that I have, and then they gave me a number.
Sweet.
That number was like 3-ish, like 300 grand.
Okay. In equity.
It was, yes, in equity.
Got it.
So they gave me an account. Excuse me. They gave me an account of like, I think it was like 284,000 in the bank. So once I got that, I was like, cool.
How hype were you when they told you 284?
I was amped, man. Yeah. Honestly, I did the math. They should have gave me like 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I called them out on
it. Is it like 80% loan to value?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was 80%, but I didn't have 400 grand in equity. I had like 6 or like 7 in equity.
Wow. Okay.
So like they were nervous with all the properties going up and all that stuff. They were nervous. They didn't want to like stretch.
They're hedging their bets.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, and I was like, really? Like, can I get better? They're like, no, this is the only thing you feel comfortable. I was also a new client to them and all that stuff too. So I was happy they gave me the 284.
Nice.
So I had to settle on that, the 284.
And what number did you need to get in here? To get the commercial unit?
To get this building here, I ended up having to put like 260 down. But originally, so I went shopping. So with that 284, I was like, all right, what's 20% down? Of 284, and that number was 1.6. So I was like, yeah, let me start shopping for 2.6. I looked at a building for like 2.9,
crazy,
like 2.1 to see if they would drop. And
how many units were those?
Those were like 24.
Man,
that was like on the other side of Worcester. Yeah. Awesome. Right on Main Street and Chandler Street. Awesome, beautiful buildings. I know the guy who ended up buying them. Yeah. So I, they didn't want to come down enough, and like the owner was actually willing on those buildings were willing to take a personal line of credit, like
seller financing.
Seller financing.
Nice.
But they were only getting me like 100, and I needed like 2. Yeah. And they weren't budging on it at all. Yeah. And we didn't get the deal.
Can you talk about what seller financing is?
Yeah, seller financing. I still haven't gotten one done. I'm still looking. Anybody out there who wants to sell a property, owner finance, talk to me. I'll do the deal. And we'll work it out. Basically, they carry the mortgage for me. So if I give them a down payment up front, and then I could work with them like 20 years. So if as a homeowner, if you want the money up front, if you need the money up front, you're not going to do it. You're going to go through the bank and all that other stuff. Yeah. But if you don't need that cash and you're willing to make more money longer, you take, you do the owner financing, we set it up, 2 lawyers, all that good stuff. It's basically like we set up a program where I'm still getting a bill in the month. It's like your name, it's like your company or whatever the case may be. And I'm writing a check to you with percentage, if it's whatever the percentage is, instead of paying the percentage to the bank, you're paying them.
Gotcha. So if I'm the owner of the building, I get paid from you, I pay my mortgage, and I'm still profitable from what you pay me?
I don't think you don't pay the mortgage. I still pay. So I'm paying you the mortgage.
Yeah.
So you're the bank.
Gotcha. Like
you're the bank. So like it's my house now. But at the end of the day, say if like we settle on 20 years or 30 years, say like regular 30-year loan, I'm going to pay you. Say if you die or something like that, that goes to your heirs or whatever. Like I'm still paying them.
Gotcha.
Paying them down. But if year 20, 25, I stop paying. I stop paying you or whatever, and I can't catch up, whatever the case may be, and I can't pay you.
Yeah.
Like all that money is lost. Like you still keep all that money,
right?
And then you just take over the property again.
Gotcha. So is the property in my name or your name at that point?
I believe it's in
the seller's
name.
That's okay. That's what I thought.
With like maybe stuff saying that like
some stipulation.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure because I've never done it before.
Gotcha.
But I believe it's under the person who's buying it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
cool.
That's a cool one. So
I hear of seller financing often. I've seen in the groups. I think that's something that people really don't know about. So I wanted to. Yeah,
my father has been like in the 80s and like early 90s. I think he's been offered a couple times seller financing on a property for like $200,000. It was like 8 units.
Wow.
On Beacon Street, like you know, like right up the street where he has some other 3-deckers and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, nah. He's like, nah. Like he didn't want to be in the game, the real estate game.
Yeah.
My grandfather was the one who started into the real estate game. He just kind of like continued to.
Yeah. How did your grandfather start?
I never met my grandfather. He passed away in 86. I was born in 88. But he came from Puerto Rico. He had 8 boys and 8 girls and his wife. He had 16 kids. There was no Netflix back then.
It sounds like my father-in-law.
Yeah. God bless him, man. And so he got from Puerto Rico, came here. He bought a 3-decker for $5,000. Bought a 3-decker for $5,000. A couple years later, that was in 1975. A couple years later, he bought the one across the street for like $8,000.
Crazy.
And then like years after that, I believe I don't know like how the story goes, but my dad was getting married and stuff like that. He was gonna like kind of start his life or whatever. My grandfather sold him the 3-decker, the one he bought across the street, for like $10,000. So he made like $2,000 off my dad.
Yeah,
my dad always cracks that joke. I think it was $10,000 he sold it to him.
Nice.
So he made $2,000 off of him. And my grandfather actually passed away while my father was making payments to him.
Wow.
So my father continued to still make those payments to that loan that my grandfather had in the bank or whatever like that. You know, still making payments on it.
Right.
But yeah, so he got into it that way, and then my father, but I was probably like 86. He bought that 3-decker. My father didn't buy a house again till like 99, which was like our single family home in Shrewsbury. So yeah, like my dad didn't really want the game. He didn't really want this for me either.
Yeah.
But I pushed it more. You know, I saw what it did to his life. You know what I mean? That like he now had like 6 units. We grew up in one apartment. You know, like my dad was a very hard worker. He worked a full-time job. So he worked a full-time job plus doing that. So he was like a cabinet maker, and he worked a full-time job there, and then he would get out and like deal with like house stuff all the time. Yeah. My dad was working 24/7. So I saw that and I was like, I want to do like the house stuff, but I really don't want to work full-time at another job. Like I will until I don't have to anymore.
Right.
And that's the whole thing with like freedom and getting out and like what real estate can do for you.
Nice. Let's talk about that. How does real estate and freedom go hand in hand, and what's the benefit?
Oh man, it's the best thing ever. Yeah. Like I tell people like it's the best thing ever to control your own time. And I know it's a lot of hard work to get to there. You know what I mean? It took me, I worked, 8 years at a company before, and they laid me off. Yeah. And it was tough for me, like, and I always thought about like, when am I going to make the move of walking away? Because it's a nice little paycheck at the end of the day. Yeah. Working and still managing properties and stuff like that. I was at work on the phone managing properties and dealing stuff, and then I would work till late at night. But like now when you're married and have kids, like getting out of work to like work till like 10 o'clock at night again, like that's not going to fly. That marriage is going to fall apart pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Your kids aren't going to know you. They walk through the door like, who's this guy? You know what I mean? So you don't want that to happen either. But once you get that freedom, it's there's nothing better. I always say like it's always great when you don't have to ask anybody for the day off. You submit the timesheet and like, oh, let me take this day off. Then we got to plan our vacation to Disney or whatever.
I was just having that conversation with my wife. We just came back from Puerto Rico, as you know, and I'm just like, it feels so good to just book a trip and not ask anybody for permission.
It is.
Like when I was working, I was in sales, and you'd ask for time off, and we were talking about this, and like, oh yeah, you can have time off, but you still need to hit your sales number, and you're behind, and it's like, when you're your own boss, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like your case, you know what I mean? Like, like I talked to you about the air about this, like you work like all summer long, Saturdays, Sundays, grinding, like working in and out. People like, oh man, like Ben like doesn't take, like he works Saturdays, like he's always working. Yeah. But like then like on your slow times, you will take time off and do this and do that. Yeah. And and like maybe you taking the random day off in the summertime with your kids on a Wednesday, when all the other parents are working, and you'll just just take the random day off and like go to the beach or do whatever you got to do. You know what I mean? That's the best thing. That's the best thing, where real estate can create wealth for you and your family over time and get you that freedom, that cash flow. You know, I'm very happy. Like, my wife worked as a budget analyst for the USDA.
Perfect match, man.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah, like
perfect
she
match.
was great. Yeah. And you know, and she had a great job. You know, working for the government, great pay, all that stuff.
Great benefits.
Yeah, the first time I went on a date with my wife, I asked her, "Would you put your, you know, this is going to family stuff.
Will you give me a down payment?"
Well, no, yeah. Can I borrow money? And my wife did. She lent me money a handful of times. Sweet. On a 3-decker, and then on our own home when we had to come up with all that money. How
many points did she charge you?
No, zero, man.
Zero.
Love, man. God bless her.
Love it.
Elvie, I love you. Shout out to my wife.
Love it.
But you know, it's just it's having the freedom, and then like going back to like telling my wife, like I asked her, like, would you sacrifice your you know, I had to make enough money in real estate. Early on I wasn't, but over time you start building where, you know, your wife could be a stay-at-home mom, you know what I mean, and like take care of the kids and stuff like that. And I know like that's a very old school mentality in a sense, you know what I mean? And I get it, like, you know, if my wife, like, she misses working at some point, but like she loves taking care of the kids and stuff like that. And it's just good to have that option. You know, it's not like if you do it or not do it. It's
good to have that option and that freedom. And exactly. I mean, when you're looking at daycare prices and then the hustle and bustle of wake up, drop the kid at daycare, go to work, get out of work, get the kid out of daycare, and then you see your kid for 3 hours, and then you're paying daycare
like
over $1,000 a month
to like
you're 50%, 60% of your salary. It's like,
so like,
is it worth it?
Yeah, exactly. And we had the benefit of like we had family nearby and stuff like that. Like we probably maybe didn't have to do daycare, but still, like I asked her on our first day, I'm like, hey, are you willing to put your career on hold to be a stay-at-home mom? And she said
first date.
First day. This went really quick. I married my wife a year and a half after starting to date her, so it went quick. No, I'm sorry. It was like 2 years. It was a year and a half after we were engaged. Quickly. But I asked the right questions, and she gave me the right answers. She said yes, like first day, and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah.
So we talked about freedom with real estate. How much risk is involved? We've talked about risk before.
Yeah.
But you know, some people are scared of risk. We talk about the Dave Ramsey thing, where like, you know, everything is pretty safe and cushy, but when you're an entrepreneur, especially in real estate, and you want to maintain freedom and also acquire more assets, how much risk do you have to take? Or let's talk about how much risk you've, like a deal that was very risky, but it's paid off well for you.
Yeah, like this property was extremely risky. Yeah, I mean, extremely risky. It was the first time I went to like a commercial thing and this and that. Extremely risky, and like technically on paper, I'm losing money every month in this building. Risk is everything. You know what I mean? So it's not for everybody. You know what I mean? A lot of people, you know, even me, like sometimes like early on, like I couldn't sleep at night. Like I was stressing out of like closing on a property. The property where I had to, that Wells Fargo said no to me, I couldn't sleep. Like, and I was living at home and I was about to get married in a couple months and I needed a place to move my new family in, like me and my wife in. And I was stressing out and it was bad. It was really bad. But risk is huge. If you're not willing to jump in to the deep end without knowing how to swim, you know what I mean? It's not for you. You know what I mean? But if you're wanting to better your life, you know, work a little harder, you know, for a certain amount of time, because you don't have to do it forever, you know, put 10 years in, 5 years, you know, however it did. It's, you know, it took me, you know, about 10 years or so to like really be comfortable in a sense, but you're still grinding. Like I still have everything, you know what I mean? Like I'm still taking risk every day in a sense, you know what I mean? Money wise, pushing everything out, you know what I mean? Like after this, I got to go run to the bank to deposit $400 to like clear a couple bills because I'm like, because I push everything out. I push everything out, you know what I mean? You know, run everything on the Home Depot card, run everything on the Lowe's card.
Let's talk about that. Do you pay interest on those? Are those interest free, or what's that like?
Oh, I should have done Home Depot card a lot sooner than I did. I started on all my other properties. I just used my JetBlue card, racked up airline points. There you go. You know, I haven't paid for travel in a long time because I rack
credit
up
card
on
hacking.
that card. Yeah,
love it.
I also put credit card hack big time. Like I put my mortgages. Some small banks don't let you
on your credit card.
Local banks usually won't around here. You know what I mean? But big banks, you know, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, I do it. banks down south, BB&T let you do it. You just set up and you just every month they run your card. You know, when the mortgage is due
For the mortgage.
For the mortgage, boom,
Baller.
they take it right out. So that payment is a big, you know, credit card payment. You know what I mean? At the end of the month, but you got to pay it in full. You know what I mean? But you're racking up some points.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
So I was trying to do it with this property too, and I got over my head. I learned that was a bad lesson I learned. That was a one mistake that I hit hard.
Yeah.
I bought this building, and then like 4 months in, I racked up a credit card bill of around like 60 grand, and that day wasn't a good day because I was at a local Kamasi's. Shout out to Kamasi's on Route 20. It's a brick and mortar place that you buy all your stuff, bricks, landscaping, all that stuff.
Gotcha.
So I was going over there to buy, and they make like custom chimney.
Inserts?
Like chimney caps for chimneys. I needed like a big one for this building and the other buildings. So like stainless steel, huge caps were like $700-800, like bigger stuff than they're usually selling. It's like, it was custom stuff. And I was over there. The guy ran the card.
Declined.
And it declined. And I was like, no way. And I was like, no way. I was like, I just checked this not that long ago, but other stuff got processed. Yeah. And I looked up on my app, and I was like, it wasn't. Yeah. That was over. I was like, oh my God.
Game over.
So I'm like,
gotta get a job again.
I ended up having cash. I paid it cash.
There you go.
And I was like, all right. Like, I paid in cash, but I got the stuff. No problem. I ordered it. Got in my truck. Called my wife, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing right now? She's like, oh, I'm at the grocery store picking up a couple things. I was like, do you have cash on you? She's like, no, I got a couple bucks. I was like, but not to pay cash the full thing. And I was like, well, don't run that card. I was like, pay in cash or like use like a backup credit card we had that was like at zero. Like we never used it. And then I got an earful that night. And I was like, I should
reality call.
Yeah, I'm like, I should have opened up a Home Depot card to do. It was a big reality check, which I'm still paying off today. Like I've moved that balance. So from like the 60 grand that I owed, I'm at like 30ish now, like paying little payments. But I do like a zero interest credit card, and I just move it over. And I got to pay like the transfer fee. It was like $1,000, or like less than $1,000 to transfer that money here and there. But it's fantastic. It saved my butt.
So you're
time.
basically. You're paying that debt off interest-free, leveraging 0% interest cards.
Yeah. So by this year or next year, I'll have it paid off, depending if I want to like put bigger payments on, or like I want to take my family a couple more vacations this year. So like maybe not everything down on it, and like but the Home Depot card's fantastic, zero interest after like $300. So you buy so if you're buying like little stuff, you gotta pay. You pay it in full or whatever the card.
Bigger purchases.
But if you're buying bigger purchases, or if you're buying like a lot of little purchases, like I have a list going when I do rent, like when I do stuff, like I start writing down little lists. Like I don't need today, but I need it soon. So I start writing it down. And then like I know I'm gonna get like a couple $100 worth of stuff. So I'm at like $200, but then I have all that little stuff, and it'll make it $300. There you go. That $300, but all right, cool. I don't have to pay that in 6 months. So I just keep pushing that on and on and on and on.
That's right. I have a Home Depot card myself. Yeah, it's fantastic. I need to use that more. We got some home repairs coming up too.
Yeah, so you just run it on $300, and if you go up to like $1,000, it's like a year. Yeah. So it's 12 months. It's awesome. 12 months. You separate the little payments, and it doesn't hit your wallet as much. Nice. It's great.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up doing that on our bathroom remodel that we've been talking
just
about.
Do that. You buy the tub, you buy, the tub surround, you buy all that stuff, like the big stuff. You know what I mean, the little stuff you can just pay whatever. Right. Yeah. My
first Home Depot card, I was 19. We opened up the chicken spot across from Belmont, and my dad probably spent $100,000 renovating, and it was quite the experience. But it's like, people don't understand how much work goes into like breaking something down to the studs and then building it back up again, piece by piece. People
don't know, especially if you want it done right. Especially if you've done it right. Like I follow guys on Instagram that like amazing contractors, and like it's so much money, because like to the studs, it's just so many little things that, and you open up and then you realize you got to do something else to it. You know what I mean? It's wild. It is.
Yeah. So you have how many properties now?
We have 8 roofs.
8 roofs.
Yeah.
How many garages?
We have 28 garages.
Got it.
28 garage bays.
You got 8 roofs, 28 garage bays. You get rent on per door, and then you kind of lease out garages as well, almost like as a sub income.
Yeah, just to people who live in the buildings, or people who don't live in the buildings. Like it may be like somebody's family member who lives in the building, they take an apartment, they're like, hey, like my cousin's looking for like a garage to store his old car in. And I'm like, well, I don't want seasonal rentals either. So I was like, hey, if you're going to rent for like the whole year and be, I'll rent it to you. You know what I mean?
Have you thought about maybe getting a commercial unit and then just opening up a storage spot? like a
like
an actual
like
storage
a cube,
space?
like a
Cube Smart. Or,
no, not really.
No.
Not really, but it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's very cool. Like I like the concept, but
Yeah.
I'm more just like with apartments.
Gotcha.
Like, and I'm nervous. Like just this commercial space we're in now.
Yeah.
You know, it's this commercial space and the one right next door. I'm still nervous about like how that's gonna go. You know what I mean? I've had a lot of people like, oh, I want to put a barbershop there. I want to put this there. I want to put that there. But they're in no shape to be rented. Yeah, I got to do new electrical. I still got to do a ton of work to this building.
Right.
But I'm still nervous of how that's gonna go.
Shape out.
But at the same time, you know, I'm willing to take the risk again because the apartments.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
That's what I know best is the
Right.
apartments. You know what I mean?
So this unit has 2 commercial units, and then it has 6 apartments.
6 apartments where 3 of them are vacant right now.
Got it. So
there's
those are on your list to get through.
Yeah, so there's 3 units that people are living here. 3 families are living in this building, but the other 3, one I almost have done,
Yeah.
and then the other 2 on the top floor have extensive water damage because like the roof was like leaking like crazy.
Yeah.
When I first bought the property.
Yeah.
That was.
What do you think it'll cost to renovate those in materials?
Probably for my costs are a lot lower than
Yeah.
everybody else's. Like,
Why is
you know
that?
what I mean? Just like, cause I'm doing everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, we're going to demo everything. Again, like I push all the money out. So it's tough for me to grab a couple people to work with me.
Yeah.
Like I try to be in that sense, like frugal in a sense, you know what I mean? You know, my dad's helping me and stuff like that. And like, I've tried to pay my dad for years.
You won't take
God
it?
bless his heart. Like,
Yeah.
He just helps me. So like
Good for him.
I'm very,
That's
very
awesome.
blessed. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But if I bring in like my cousin, like to help me out or something like that, like
Gotta
he'll
feed him in, you gotta pay him,
like
right?
I pay him. No, and you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm asking for his help. You know, he's
Yeah.
asking. You know, and I'll pay him. You know, whatever. You
Yeah.
know, man labor. If I got to bring somebody else in there, whatever. But
Yeah.
we do it. You know, it's in a sense like not like there's no rush,
Yeah.
but like. And a lot of people give me crap for it because like they like people are like, oh, just borrow more money, get it done quicker.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense because like you'll make
borrow
more
more.
money quicker.
Yeah, you'll
make
get it
more money
quicker.
quicker, and it's true.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't want to. That's a risk. Like I'm already taking so much risk. I'm just like I'm gonna take my time, just do it, and borrow less money in a
Yeah.
sense, you know, in that sense. But you could go all out. I think the right way to do it is just borrow more money and just get it done quicker.
Yeah.
But I feel more comfortable just me handling it, doing it little by little. You know what I mean? So we'll gut the entire apartment. You know, we'll do the drywall. You know, everything. You know, I'll bring an electrician in, which I use all the time. Shout out to Emilio. He's a fantastic electrician.
Nice.
75 years old. This guy's the man. You know what I mean?
I think I need one, so I'll probably hook up with you on
Yeah,
that.
so he's great. Like he works with me all the time. We'll run stuff, and I studied electrical in high school,
Yeah.
so I could do a lot of the electrical on my own.
Yeah.
But some stuff I'd rather just work on like some other stuff while like the electrician's running the cables and stuff, so I could like catch up and like prep stuff for him and like kind of be his assistant in a sense because
Right.
I'm jumping around and like I could be like, yeah, I'm gonna work with you all day. I could be up there. Somebody could call me like, oh, hey, Anthony, like my heat's not working or like there's no hot water. So that's my first priority, is
Yeah,
making
yeah,
sure
yeah.
that family is taken care of.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Nice. So you have 8 roofs. How many units or how many doors?
30 doors.
30 doors. Nice.
30 doors, like plus my own home, but you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
30 rental units
Sweet.
right now. Yeah.
Sweet. Where do you see yourself, a year, 5 years from now?
A year from now, I'm still going to be renovating this building because it's still going to take some time.
Yeah.
But down the road, I definitely want to continue to buy big multifamily and continue to grow, continue to build in cash flow, hopefully build my own home in the future for me and my family.
Nice.
We have a growing family, so hopefully with a couple more kids, business wise, I'll take as many as God gives me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to catch up to my grandfather with 16 kids. I have 2 now, and I'll be happy with those 2 if I only have 2.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed, but business wise, just continue to move forward and, build my own house and continue to buy real estate.
Yeah. So we were talking before we jumped on, Worcester homes are up 12%.
12.7% thanks to the text message I got from my mom.
And 3-deckers are going for 500, 600. I think one went for 700.
Crazy.
When does the market cool off? Right?
I don't
'Cause
know.
this thing just goes up and up and up. Like there has to be a pullback at some point. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not to the 2008 level where it's a direct crash, but when does it, come down a little bit?
Or at least just like level off because it just keeps going up. But,
Yeah.
The rents follow as well. So it's not like the prices of homes are going up
Yeah.
and the rents are staying,
Stagnant.
low.
Yeah.
So the rents are still going up.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess they keep printing money and, you know, everything just keeps going up. You know what I mean? Everybody's like, gas is up, this is up. I'm like, well, they just printed $1.9 trillion. Like
20% of all money was printed last year.
Yeah.
And they just printed 1.9 trillion.
Ever
Yeah. Printed.
Yeah. So
people don't understand like the gravity and the depth of that. But what happens is everything gets more expensive. Assets get more expensive. We're looking at house prices now. We were looking at houses in the $600,000 range. That's like a $3,500 mortgage. What is it going to be in 5 years? Like, is that $600,000 house going to be $1 million? And yeah, I think, you know, as Worcester continues to become more saturated, obviously everybody's looking at Southbridge, and Fitchburg, and Lunenburg, and all these other areas that are, you know, a little ways out, but the market is crazy right now.
Yeah, Worcester is like that place where, you know, me growing up here till I was 10, and then I moved to Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
So like, and then I went to school on Marlboro. Everybody didn't say anything nice about Worcester. Oh, you used to live in Worcester, like you got this in Worcester. Yeah, Worcester's the best. Yeah, you know, Worcester, it's awesome with the park getting built. All the, like, my taxes go up every year. Like these properties went up, you know, a lot of money every year. They go up. But I see it, you know, I see the construction going on. I see all the new roads getting built. I see the new stuff going up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, hey, you know, they're dishing it out. You know what I mean? The prices that they're paying aren't cheap either of getting everything done. So once the city grows and all this awesome stuff continues to come, more people are gonna start like, hey, what's going on with Worcester? Start coming here, and then it's crazy. Like my phone doesn't stop ringing sometimes for apartments. Like, hey, do you have an apartment free? You have this, you have this. Just people trying to move in. And the whole thing with like gentrification, when people are, you know, that's a whole other podcast show. But you know,
let's talk about that for a little bit.
It's you know, it's tough because I know, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but like,
so what is gentrification?
Yeah, like, you know,
in layman's terms,
in the movie Boys in the Hood, you know, his dad talks about it with the billboard. He's like, gentrification, you know, people are coming in, you know, buying up, you know, buildings, kicking everybody else out, type of deal. Yeah. But
and how do they kick them out? They just raise the rents, or
like, you know, I've heard stories like people go in, you know, my cousin's wife that happened to recently, like she had an apartment. I don't know what she was paying, but they raised it up to like $2,200 for like a 2-bedroom here in Worcester at the Worcester Lofts. I think she was on a program downtown or something like that. Yeah, downtown. Her apartment was beautiful. Like, I
nice.
Checked it out. It was awesome. You got the amenities. You got all that stuff. You got the
super
gym.
High ceilings.
Yeah, they got awesome. And they like they cracked their rent up. You know what I mean? Try to get other people there. That's, I guess, not so much gentrification because that building was like brand new and all that stuff. They brought in there, but it's like, you know, if I come in, you know, and you know, I'm subject to that in a sense. You know, I've come into a building, I bought it. I've told the people that they pay very low market rent. Like this building, they were paying like $800 for rent. In this, you know, for 2 bedrooms. But again, it was a really rough apartment. You know what I mean? Like the guy wasn't fixing anything. You know what I mean? It was really rough. So I ended up sitting down with them when I first bought the place. I'm like, what do you guys need fixed in your apartment? I made a list. I fixed it. I fixed them all things. Like, give me 3 months. In 3 months, I'll have all this stuff fixed. But in 3 months, your rent's going up. You know what I mean? It's going up from $800 going to $1,000. Not bad. For a 2-bedroom for $1,000, it's not bad.
You can't.
But it's a $200 boost. You know, I think one person was paying $7, so it was a $300 raise. You know what I mean? So that sense is like gentrification in a sense where, like, you know, if I'm kicking them out to renovate everything, and then I'm like, hey, you guys can stay here, but from $800 you're gonna have to start paying $1,600. That's the more push. Like, all right, well, I can't afford it, I'm moving out to move in different type of people into the buildings. Where that's the whole thing where gentrification, if like a whole neighborhood's, you know, a Latino neighborhood, they've been living there for 30 plus years, they grew up there, and then it becomes, you know, a different type of neighborhood. You know what I mean? They're kicking all those people out, but all those people can stay if they have enough money. You know what I mean? So it's like there's two sides of it, because like I've seen it on both sides, but the side of I'm on it is like typically the bad side. If that makes sense, you know. What I mean? Yeah. I mean, you're the one. And thank God, I haven't kicked anybody out. You know, they've all been cool with paying a little bit more. But I don't raise it double, you know what I mean? But I raise it to cover the cost, you know what I mean? And, I may have to raise it a little bit more to catch up to market. Market rents right now in this building are probably like for a 2-bedroom, maybe $1,400, market rent.
Yeah. So they're getting a $400 discount.
Yeah, exactly. Like the taxes are going up, everything's going up, water bills are going up. Yeah. So that, fluctuates of what the rents are going to be and how much things are going to cost. So,
right. There's a lyric that comes to mind from Wordplay and Andy Mineo where Wordplay says, Trader Joe's in the hood. It's the Matrix. You know what I mean? Because when you look at places like that, there is no Trader Joe's. There are always liquor stores. There are always, pawn shops.
Yeah.
Like when you think about like poor places, like those things are always there.
Right here is a perfect example you just said, because there's a pawn shop across the street and there's like 2 liquor stores. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the Dave Chappelle stand-up. Yeah. He's like, gun store, liquor store, gun store, liquor store. He's like, where the hell are you taking me? He's like, where are you taking me? We're going to the ghetto. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because that's what he just saw. You know what I mean? So, but again, like, if the buildings get bought up, better neighborhoods, and then like the liquor store's getting bought out, and they're like, well, we can't put a liquor store here now because we have these type of people. So now we have to make this into like a yoga studio and a nice juice bar.
I had a commercial shoot for a church I was creating content for, and they sent me the address to the shoot. They were like, yeah, it's a coffee shop, and it's like Main South, like back streets, kind of near like Oriad Street. I'm like, there's no way there's a urban coffee shop.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, right on the
right
corner.
Across the street from Rent-A-Center. It's like Rent-A-Center across the street, yeah.
Yep, but it's like, it's not on Main Street, it's off Main Street, so you have to like take a left and take another left. But it's kind of near the new brick apartments.
Okay.
But you go in and it's a bunch of white folks, and it's the hipster crowd, and I'm just like, this is crazy. That and then the big buildings that they've renovated, those I don't know what they were.
The factory buildings.
The factory buildings. They've converted those into
the old loom buildings. Yeah.
They've converted those into nice apartments, and now 10 years ago, unless you were, doing some illegal things, you wouldn't be on these streets, right?
Yeah, for sure.
12 at night, 2 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's just the climate of those streets. And now it's like, oh no, we have these nice apartment buildings here, and we have this nice gourmet coffee shop here. So we're kind of seeing that gentrification happen in real time. In Main South.
Yeah, and it's I've toured that building. Yeah. Like I've talked to the builders of that building because I want to like pick their brain a little bit. Yeah. Brady Sullivan is the one who did that building.
Wow.
They have like New Hampshire. Like I googled these guys. Like they're the real deal. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they spend millions of dollars.
How many units
those
are
buildings?
It's like a 50 unit.
No,
something?
It's more than that.
100?
It's like 100 something.
Wow.
I think. Yeah. But like those rents are very expensive.
Yeah, $2,000.
Yeah. Like they're very expensive. My dad has the 2-3 deckers on Oriad Street.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up till I was 10 until we moved to Shrewsbury. Yeah. That whole area. Like I remember like on my cousin's apartment on the 3rd floor, like we used to shoot like BB guns and like stuff into those buildings. Like those buildings are abandoned buildings, you know what I mean? For years, for 30 years, and then like or more, you know what I mean? It was my whole lifetime until they renovated them, and I was like, no way, they're building this stuff. And then like my dad's property value skyrocketed because it's like right up the street. And like he gets cars all the time to like sell his buildings. Yeah. But like we're not, you know what I mean? We're buy and hold.
Buy and hold, baby.
He's not selling anything. Right. He's thought about it, of course. Like, I think everybody thinks about it. I've thought about selling a lot of my stuff and then buying bigger, which would be a cool idea to do. Right. It's still in my head, but like, just try to do it without selling anything. I would like to do that. It takes a little more time. Yeah. But yeah, that whole stuff is like, it's a great building, but yeah, like that area changes a little bit, little by little. But like if you own the building, like it's not going to change in that building. It's the people who end up selling. It's the people who end up selling like, oh, they don't like gentrification. I'm selling because all my prices went up. They sell to somebody else, and then they change it. You know, that's where it comes in. Yeah. But if you hold your ground and say like, nah, man, I'm selling. But again, I understand like if you rented an apartment for $600 for a 3-bedroom, you live there for 30 years, and then the landlord comes in, new guy comes in, buys the place. Now his mortgage is a lot more money than your other landlord because he probably has the house paid off. He likes you, your family, whatever the case may be. He skyrockets the mortgage, you move out, and then a whole different type of people move in. Yeah, little by little changes the whole thing. Like I think like it's a big thing like in Brooklyn, like a whole area change, like the whole blocks and blocks and blocks change where like it was all one people, and now it's all different
how
people.
Can you prevent gentrification then? Ownership, right?
You said ownership. ownership.
So
you know what I mean? And like people talk crap about it, but like they don't want to make moves to like buy up the block. And I've heard Nipsey Hussle, God rest his soul, has talked about this before, about like, bro, like you want to change stuff, you own the block. You know what I mean? Like where you live, buy it. You know what I mean? If you love your hood, if you love this, if you love your block, bro, buy it. Yeah, buy it. Yeah, put your money where your mouth is, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, buy it up. So
one thing that comes to mind, Richest Man in Babylon, the book talks about how wealth is kind of created, and you know, it's the same thing of someone buys the 100-unit vacant building and they turn it into amazing apartments and they market it to certain people, and then all of a sudden Oriad Street's rents or mortgages go up, or they're worth more. We think about Polar Park, you know, it comes out of nowhere. The city lands this deal. It's what, a $200 million deal.
Crazy.
So that means everything around Polar Park is going to jump up 30%.
Just went up.
Right. And so what does it cost you? Like if you already own a property there, like you just buy and hold, and all of a sudden you're worth 30% more.
Exactly.
So that book is fantastic. If you haven't read it, or get it on Audible, it's good to just
it's on my hit list. I've heard so many people talk about it.
Just grab it on Audible. It's written in like 1800 English language. But it's just, you know, sound like money principles, ownership principles, and how to, you know, acquire wealth over time.
Yeah, and that's what real estate will create over time. You know what I mean? It's not a you know, rich, you know, what's that
Get
saying?
rich quick. It's get rich quick if you're flipping.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
If you're going through some big flips, just buy and sell.
I love the flip game. Like I've never done it. You know what I mean? I don't think I can flip property that quick. Like I'm very slow and stuff like that. You know, like I got other stuff going on and stuff like that. So, but the flip game is good. People's like, hey, flip to get more money to then invest, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? It's always something that's an option to do. Yeah. But yeah, I like the long-term holding of like, you know, creating wealth, you know what I mean, for your family. It may not happen for me. Yeah. You know, it may not happen for my son, but maybe my son's kids over time, they don't have to be in the real estate game, but they can still be the head of like, you know, the company in the sense of like money's coming in, but they could do their own career and hire an outside source property management company. Yeah. Like, you know what, Dad, I'm not really into this. I understand what it does. I understand it, you know, creates money for our family, but I'm going to just hire a property management company. They're going to take it. We're going to make less. I'm going to be free. My whole time is going to be free.
Yeah. You free up your time.
And I can do whatever you want in life. You know what I mean? If you want to take on another career, you know,
whatever it is, more properties.
I want him to do that. I want my kids to do that. You know what I mean? If they don't want to do this, they don't have to. You know what I mean? But I don't want them to sell everything either and be like, no, I'm just going to get out of it completely. You know what I mean? I think that would be like the worst move ever.
Yeah, just hire it out to property managers. Hire it out. Let them handle that, and then you still get cash flow.
Instead of making, you know, whatever, $5,000 a month, or whatever, you know, I'm just throwing out numbers. You know, instead of making $5,000 a month, you're making $4,000 a month. Yeah, you know what I mean, and you have no headache. You have to pick up the phone, and the property manager calls you like, hey, we're gonna have to replace a heating system. It's $6,000. You know what I mean?
You still got to cut that check.
Like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, get it done. Thank you. Like, let me know. You know what? I'm going to swing by this week. Check it out. Yeah. You might not have been to that property in years. Right. Just come by and check it out. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, you know, if you want.
Yeah. I got some friends. One of them owns properties in Florida. He's checking out Alabama now, checking out Jacksonville, Florida. But you can get single families down there in the $100,000 range. Yeah. And then again, you manage it by yourself, you know, from, you know, states away, or you hire a property manager where you pay, you know, X amount per door. Speaking of just, you know, buy and hold, I'm listening to the What is Money podcast, Michael Saylor and Robert Breedlove. They're talking about Bitcoin. But Michael Saylor talks about people who own real estate, who, you know, he's talking about families who own, you know, real estate in Central Park, New York, or in Manhattan. And he's like, you know, every rich family who's owned real estate in these prestige areas, they never sell it, right? So they're never going to pay capital gains tax. They're never going to have to deal with that. And their property values only goes up every year. So what they do is they go to a bank, they get a loan against their property for, say, 2 or 3%. Every year their property goes up 20 or 30%. So their arbitrage is, you know, 28, 27 points, and they never trigger capital gains, and they still own their asset. Yeah. Right. So they have cash flow from loans, and they're able to do whatever they want. They're able to take that cash and invest in more assets. And, you know, we talked about Donald Trump, and it's like, oh, there's issues with his taxes, but it's like any family in real estate has played that game. Yeah. That's how the real estate game goes. Yeah. You leverage that debt and you take a risk, and you're still profitable. Yeah, you hit it right on the money. It's crazy. It's just like, and then the whole thing of like, you know, how the rich get rich, and like the gap between rich and poor, it continues to keep going because
and it's getting bigger because like the rich continue to just dump all their money
into assets,
and stuff that's going to make them more money. You know what I mean? Like Elon Musk is dumping a ton of money, new businesses to make him more money. You know what I mean? And other big time families. Even like families you don't know like their name. They're not worth billions of dollars.
Oh, absolutely.
But they work hundreds of millions of dollars on the low key.
Yeah.
And they're doing very well from themselves, but they're not like famous. They made their money over years or whatever the case may be.
The book The Millionaire Next Door talks about how millionaires live in neighborhoods that you wouldn't think they live in.
Yeah.
They drive what you don't think they'd drive. Yeah. They wear what you don't think they'd wear.
That's why they're millionaires.
And that's why they're millionaires. Because again, they're either investing in their own businesses or they're acquiring other assets.
Exactly. Like they don't want, you said like, oh, where's the Benz or what did you say?
Bentley.
The Bentley in the garage and stuff like that. And that's cool. You know what I mean? If you're all about that, like I encourage you. I'm like, yeah, good for you. Yeah. But like, I just rather drive like something smaller and just dump all the money in. Like I drove a 1991 truck for years and it was like 2014 because my wife was like, you got to get a new truck when our son was born. You know what I mean? I'm not bringing him in that truck. So, and people are like, oh, you just get a nice truck, get a loan on it. I'm like, I don't want a loan on a vehicle right now. Like, I know it breaks down sometimes and it was the worst, you know, and then eventually I got a newer ride. I got a 2011, ride in like 2015, 14 or whatever. So it was a couple years old truck, but it works great. Honestly, I should have done that move sooner. That was a dumb move on my part. I should have got a newer vehicle.
It depends on...
But still,
yeah, it depends on the situation. I mean, my dad is the same way where like he never buys cars new. He rides cars to the ground, and it's like, why don't you just spend a couple $100 a month? But what people don't understand is that if you take that couple $100 a month and you invest it into the stock market or in real estate or a business, if you're getting 10 to 15% per month in 30 years, that's $1 million. Yep. So take the worn down car, take the older car, you know what I mean, and invest the rest, and you'll have wealth. You just need time.
It times everything, you know what I mean? Time, risk, all that stuff is just, you just play it little by little, and then it'll grow and grow, and then your cash flowing $1,000 a month, then it's $1,500 a month, and then it's $2,000 a month, making more deals, $3,000 and $35, and then all that stuff, and then you're building. And luckily for me, I was doing that stuff before, like I kind of met my wife and started this thing of creating this,
increasing cash flow.
So once we got married, we were doing well, and then I got laid off, and then like everybody was on my back, like, oh, you got to get a new job. You just recently. I got laid off 2 months after my wedding. My wife was looking at me. I
got laid off a month before my wedding.
Oh, that's the better one. That's even you beat me on that one. That's a better one.
That's the worst, dude.
Well, like in sense of stories, you know what I mean? Like it was like because I already closed on my house. We had my house for like 6 months already. We got married. I came back from my honeymoon. We worked a couple months, and then my boss sat me down and was like, hey, we're like that company closed, like it went under, but I was like one of the first ones to go, middle management, they let me go. And like the ride home from my job to my house, my dad was in my basement of my current home renovating the basement because we were still doing a ton of renovations on that house, and we were doing the basement over, and the drive from Marlboro to Worcester, that was the best drive of my life to this day.
Freedom.
I was so happy that I got laid off. I was ecstatic. Ecstatic. Got to my house and my dad's like, what are you doing here? I was like, Dad, I just got laid off. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, I just got laid off. And he's like, well, there's your tool belt right there. Like, help me with this piece of wood. Help me with this piece of wood. And I was just so happy. And my wife wasn't as thrilled. She got home. For sure. She's like, we can't start a family now. We can't do this. I'd probably be, of course, you know what I mean? But I was ecstatic. So and then I already had started creating that money where I was already making more money in real estate than I was at my job.
Perfect.
So like I was already at that point where like I was already thinking about leaving my job, but it was so good to have that job because like I was just still dishing it out on real estate. And my wife was working. So we saved
a lot of cash flow.
During that time where like my wife was working and all that stuff. You were working. We saved almost like $75,000 like in a year or less. It was wild.
Same boat with me. I stacked up like 6 months expenses. We closed on our house. And I was like, all right, well, I really don't need to work this job anymore because I'm making more money with my business.
Exactly. I
didn't get fired. I put in my 2 weeks, but it was still bittersweet because I was there for a while and I liked the people.
Yeah, that's badass, man. You put in your 2 weeks because I've thought about that time and time again. I'm like, how am I going to put my 2 weeks in? I like everybody at this company, this and that. When am I going to make this move? I'm just going to know. And then they just did it to me. So it's just a lot easier.
It took it off your plate.
It did take it off my plate. So that's awesome. That was good.
Well, good. Thanks so much for joining me. Very happy that you're doing what you're doing. Glad we're connected. Look forward to seeing your real estate moves in the future. Let people know where they can find you online and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, man. I'm at The Real Grajales on Instagram. Anthony Grajales on Facebook. You can reach out. My number is 508-414-1650. Call me or text me, whatever. Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here, man.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks,
you.
Anthony. Appreciate it.